Hey, it's your afternoon girlfriend, Yvonne Daniels. Happy Monday. Hope you're having a great day. And man, I cannot believe that tomorrow is September and we are still in the throes of this pandemic, which everybody thought was just going to last just a few weeks. And I tell you, so many people, so many businesses are having to pivot and turn, and so many businesses are being affected. But I tell you, one is back today, and we are so excited that STARS has returned. We have got the executive director of STARS, Glenn Steffens, with me. Hey, Glenn, how are you today?
Oh, pretty good, Yvonne. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. So today is a big day for STARS, and we're going to start off. You're the executive director. Tell us, what exactly is STARS?
STARS is the Saginaw Transit Authority Regional Services. We're a public entity created out of Michigan law, just like any other transit that's public in the state. So we serve fixed route services throughout the city. We also do our dial-a-ride, our STARS Lift or Express, you might know it as. And we also have a project called Rise to Wellness. That's county-wide, so we partner up with organizations to do medical trips and all kinds of other necessary trips like that. And finally, we also have our Pigeon Express, which takes workers out to Pigeon, Michigan, 3 times a day.
Wow. So a very essential service, but with everything that's going down, you actually told me earlier that you guys have not been operational because of everything for how long was it now?
Part operational for less than about 6 months.
About 6 months. Okay.
Yeah, we have been running our dial-a-ride services, so those curb-to-curb trips. We limited it to only necessary trips under the governor's order, and that's what we've been doing until yesterday.
Okay.
So like trips to the doctor, to the hospital, to groceries, your job. But past that, the big buses, those weren't running, and that was at the end of March when we went into lockdown. We stopped those services.
Okay. So people I know are so happy that they're back today. It's kicked off today. You said you guys have been getting a lot of phone calls, just people really glad about the service being back. So have there been any changes with you guys coming back today? Any route changes or anything like that?
There's a couple route changes. If anybody rode the Route 106, that route is now cut. And that went out to Covenant-Mackinac. But we did not see high ridership, and right now we're focusing on where we need the service to be and where the riders are. But a lot of the stops on that route are picked up by the 6 or the 9. Both the Route 6 and 9 are still running. They changed up a little bit, so if you used to ride them, you should check our website and look up the new time points. But we did stop at Walmart instead of going all the way up Bay to SVSU. They're doing virtual classes, so there's not much a reason for transit to be running out there. Also, Bay Metro had shut down their Route 4, and that's where we connected to that county. And county connections might not be the greatest idea right now as well.
Yeah, right. So with me asking about the route changes, I don't know if we need to back up or if that's all included on your services and how actually COVID impacted STARS and how services changed if they did.
Well, capacity, that's one thing. We can't put nearly as many people on a bus right now. We're working on getting that number higher, but with the tech and the stuff we have right now, and based on what we know about the virus, we max out about 15 a bus right now. The biggest change for passengers is when you board. When you board, you have to have a mask on. If you don't have one on, we've got them for you. But if you're 3 years or older, no exceptions, you do need to wear a mask. If you say you have medical restrictions, our answer right now is we can't accommodate for that restriction right now. So the mask, and the other thing that we're asking when people board and requiring is a use of hand sanitizer. And we've got our own up on the wall. Take a squirt, rub it on your hands before you sit down. And those 2 simple things, you get your ride. And right now, I should mention they're all free.
Okay. And you say right now, so is that not going to stay the same, or is it not going to stay free, or you're just saying right now, as far as we can see?
As far as we can see, here's what I would tell people in the answer to that question is, when I can develop and implement a contact-free payment system, one where we don't have bus passes that are handed back and forth or cards that even touch something or swipe through something, maybe a reader for telephones and a pass you might have that you scan by a laser. But that comes with, computer tech and all these different things. So I don't have a date. It's certainly not going to be like next week.
Right.
And the side effect here, and it's not a bad one, is that it's hard times for a lot of people.
Mhm.
So it doesn't sound like a lot to save $1.50 on a bus ride, but it does
Yeah.
add up really quickly. And suddenly you're talking, $50, $100 a week in some cases.
Yeah, yeah, that adds up for sure. And with you talking about just certain things that could possibly be implemented, we were discussing earlier too that you were saying that you didn't really have any direction when all this happened as to what you needed to do, what changes you needed to make. So all this was you having to, I guess, and probably working with your staff to come up with different ways to pivot, to be creative, to all of that, right? You just had to kind of come from within without any real direction, especially when it first started, right?
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind we've got drivers in vehicles that are going out there and assisting people in
Hmm.
wheelchairs. The concern is, what do we do for those drivers? What do we do to keep them safe? And then the other
Right.
concern too is these passengers. If
Yeah.
we're doing necessary trips, these are people taking like dialysis, maybe
Yeah.
getting chemo. They're at
Hmm.
really high risk. So,
Right.
what do you do? And I was really frustrated by the lack of direction and
Yeah.
leadership that we had at the state level, at local levels, and I can sympathize. It's a
Yeah.
totally unprecedented situation. Nobody knows what to do, but it was kind of scattershot, and different parts of the state were doing their own thing. I got some criticism, and then on the other side, I think I did a risk assessment. What's
Yeah.
the risk of us doing something? It costs some money. It takes up some time. But
Hmm.
what is the possible benefit is people don't die if this is really happening.
Right.
And we started those procedures back when people were asking if this was even a real thing.
Wow. Yeah.
A lot of some people still are.
Yeah. That is amazing, but that's another topic for another time.
Yeah.
But and I tell you, I'm just so thankful for just the foresight that you had, and like you said, sometimes in this time, I know leaders are getting it from both ends, but you have to do what is best for the people that you are serving, and so I definitely commend you on that for taking those steps. And speaking of taking steps, as far as we've talked about how you're keeping your the riders safe, but as far as the drivers, you guys have protocols in place for people that are actually driving as well before they actually get on to drive the bus for these people, right?
Yeah, and I'm hoping I can get some video of the facility out to the public of what it's like to enter the building, to be screened for symptoms, walk through the hallway. There's a line of our PPE packs for our drivers hung along the wall. They've all got goggles and face shields and gloves and masks and all that equipment in there. And the cleaning supplies that they have every time they're dropping someone off. They're wiping down that bus, hitting the contact points.
Mm-hmm.
It's really very detailed, very
Yeah.
time consuming. It gets
Yeah.
expensive, but it's very much worth it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So people, as they're getting on the buses, they don't have to worry. It's all being. I know that I feel a lot better when I go into the stores and I actually see the folks spraying down, the cart spraying down different things that you're using. It just makes you feel a lot better, because you are coming into contact with all of that. So anyone that's out there riding, and I'm sure they do see them wiping it down, it just makes you feel a lot better. So with today being such a big day with the services starting back up, how has it been going today?
Today is is it over yet? Because I'm afraid to say it's going great.
Right.
So far, things have been going great. These buses, a lot of them we haven't run in 6 months. We've
Wow.
never ever had a chunk of the fleet down for that long. So
Yeah.
a few weeks ago, we're looking at starting up, going, what's going to happen when they hit the road? Turning
Yeah.
them on and running them in the garage, taking them around the block is one thing, but giving it 8 hours on the road, and
Yeah.
so they're holding up. The barriers we've installed for our drivers and passengers,
Mhm.
they're holding up just fine. We weren't sure how people were going to take to it, but we've got
Yeah.
vinyl sheets in between the passenger rows, so it's like a
Okay.
little booth.
Hmm.
You're sitting there with your mask, you're in your own little space. It feels
Right.
much safer, and I think it is. So it's a change.
Yeah. Yeah. But we're all going through changes, and guess what? It's not over yet. But as long as we stay positive and continue to be creative and continue to be open, I think we're all gonna definitely be okay. And so you were talking about also folks, because I know you guys take buses out to workplaces, different workplaces. Did that change, or is that just now starting back up as well?
We did stop it at the very beginning of the pandemic when the state went in lockdown. The plants that we primarily serve out there, Blue Diamond Steel and Huron Castings, they had closed down because of the threat of COVID, and didn't want their workplace to get it. But when the governor started reopening up auto industry, I got a phone call the week before they were supposed to open. They said, let's rock and roll. We need to get moving again. Right. So we developed a new set of procedures. We figured out, okay, this is an hour trip. We need to make sure we take extra precaution. This isn't just somebody sitting next to somebody for 5 minutes on a bus. This is sitting in a bus. So that's when we first experimented with shower curtains instead of the vinyl we're using now. And we draped shower curtains throughout the place. It didn't look the best. It felt like we were being transported with a leper colony or something, but it worked. We haven't had a single reported case of COVID related to our transit use. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. We haven't had a single case from passenger to employee or employee to passenger or on-site transmission. And that's where, and this is an important point I did want to bring up, is that's where we're sure now that we can do this. We know more about the virus. And I'm finally saying I can look passengers in the eye and anybody listening and saying, hey, we know this is safe. We can do this for sure. If we're wrong, we'll pull back. But I don't want to give people a false sense of security either. And that comes with this. People hear the buses are opening, so things must be getting better. The message I have is they're not getting better in Saginaw. We have some of the highest spots in the state. We're a hot spot. And we've been actually, there's kind of talk on, are we going to go back to phase 3 in our region because of what's going on in Saginaw County? So I've been following the numbers really closely. And so there is that threat. So I don't want us to open saying, hey, everybody, get comfortable. Everything's back to normal. It's not. We just think despite even the threat increasing to where it's at, we're safe to keep operating. Okay.
Wow, that's sobering to hear. And I was just getting ready to ask you too. So, you've been, partially operational for 6 months. You're back up, not to full capacity, but as far as you can be, as much as you can be now. I was going to ask you, what did you see down the line? But as you say, we don't even know. And with you saying that Saginaw County is a hot spot and possibilities for us to go back into phase 3, you just have to keep going forward with all the precautions and protocols that you have in place as much as you can, I guess, for now.
Yeah. And if the public's following the rules, we'll pull out of this in Saginaw. If everybody on the buses are wearing their masks, and anybody that is going to school is wearing their masks and they're following the rules there, and people aren't going to big parties and hanging out on beaches right next to each other. At that point, we can see that decline. So the threat's there, but if everybody works with it, I fully back the superintendent for Saginaw Public Schools and their board and saying we need to wait until maybe October. Things are a little questionable right now. I think that was a good call. They were under tough circumstances to make that call. But I completely agree with it. I think precaution is important. My kids are doing virtual school. I was given a choice. I chose virtual school. Oh, you too.
Right. Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind is with people in good, powerful positions locally, like our superintendent, that are making the right calls. We stand a much better chance. And STARS is trying to make the right call and saying we're opening services, but it comes with a few asterisks, masks, and all these safety precautions. Right. If everybody follows with those types of judgments, we can pull through.
I've been saying the same thing. Obedience. Just do what you're supposed to do, and we can get out of this a lot faster. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. All right. So with all this being said, with the excitement, with things being so busy, which is a great thing for you all today with your route starting back, how can folks learn more about STARS services?
The easiest way is to go to our website, saginaw-stars.com. We're also on Facebook. You can look up STARS, Saginaw Transit Authority Regional Services. And we've got, videos and schedules and everything online. Our Director of External Affairs, Jamie Forbes, is excellent at keeping up with making sure the public is posted on what's going on. We've got pop-ups on the website, and you can also call us at 907-4000 and do the phone thing if you don't dig the internet thing.
Right. So this just has been, like I said, so enlightening. Once again, STARS is back operational. They're all the routes have started today. Like you said, you're I think at half capacity for most of your buses. But folks you can go to the website, you can go to the Facebook, you can give them a call. Would you say 907-4000 and learn more about the services? And if you have any questions, you can feel free as you're watching to just put it in the comment box there. Any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those for you, because I've got the executive director, Glenn Steffens, here with me. So, Glenn, as we're talking, is there anything else that maybe we missed? Anything else that you want folks to know out there about STARS and your services?
Well, one, we're making a lot of expansions here coming up soon. Despite all this happening, we already had a bunch of programs in the works to buy new buses.
Okay.
We're looking at 8 big buses for our routes, and then another 6 kind of school bus style. Like those old, we call them tripper buses at STARS. A lot of new lift cabs. Our Rides to Wellness department, we just got a new facility for that. It's expanding, and we're buying 7 new vans with lifts there. So there's a lot of growth, and we were ready to have so much happen this summer, and then it all gets stalled. But we're sticking with it. The other thing, if anybody is a political a junkie or anything, not to get political, but to say, when you talk about government funding and things like that, the CARES Act, you probably heard of that. Everybody got a check from it. It also funded transit, and that act was extremely important in having passed for transit. We had to stop taking fares, so that's a good chunk of our money that stops right there.
Oh, wow.
Right. So, and then the state is looking at deficits in its budget, and we get some of our funding from the state too. So the federal government came forward with the CARES Act, and of that, STARS got awarded $5.5 million in grant funds to keep our people employed. We had to lay off half our crew when we first shut down, right? And that was tough, but we didn't know what was going to happen and how long. But once the CARES Act funding came down, we knew we can bring everybody back. We can keep them on health benefits. And that is really important right now. It's also enabled us to spend, I think we're looking at up to, with some recent purchases, we're around $500,000 in cleaning technologies and different types of steam cleaners and these disinfectant sprayers that do like a mist that even disinfects fabric. Lights to clean our buses too. We've got those on the way. So there's a lot of doors that this funding opened, and a lot of times people don't hear about that stuff. You hear about the tax breaks or the checks that we get, but I'll tell you what, our Michigan legislators that voted in favor of that, big hats off to them from me.
Right. Looks like we have a question I missed with the buses run every 40 minutes. I don't like the new stuff. Someone is, I guess, saying the buses, so how that they're running every 40 minutes. So I don't know.
Our buses are on an hour schedule, 60-minute schedule. They leave the main station at 5 minutes to the hour. With one route is accepted, that one leaves at 30 minutes after. We used to be on a 40-minute system. And so that might be what your commenter is asking about, is why maybe we don't go back to the 40-minute. It's one of those things, and what I tell people is this, it's one of those things when we were running 40, people came up to me all the time and said, why don't you run a 60-minute schedule? It'd be so easier to track through the day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we did. And then a bunch of other people came back saying, if you could have the 40-minute schedule, I'd really appreciate that. So we can't make everybody happy, but we did try to build into the routes, many of them, where they come back to the station mid-hour and connect and then do another leg. So it can help reduce that. Wait time and the amount of time. So I sympathize. I'm sorry, but 60-minute routes is where we're at right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, M. Price, for asking that question and for letting us know that. Appreciate that. So because of the CARES Act, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that. So you've been able to bring back all of your workers for STARS, is what you're saying? So everybody, you didn't have to lay anybody off permanently?
Well, yeah, as our drivers, we had, it was around 50 and we laid off 25. We put some administration down to part-time. And we were looking at layoffs or part-time deductions in other departments as well. And so there was a good couple of weeks where people were out of work. They didn't know what was going to happen. But But yeah, we were able to bring them back. And the really cool part on how this worked, since it was half our drivers, we looked at the operational side of it. How we aren't driving routes every day, so we don't need as many drivers on staff to do this much work.
Right.
So we split them into a blue team and a red team is what we called it. And you had 1 week on, and then you had 1 week off paid with benefits. And so that 7 days served a couple of great purposes. One, for us, it gave our employees a week away in case they were going to develop symptoms if they were exposed.
Okay.
It gave us 2 separate controlled groups that did not interact with each other. So if we had an outbreak in one of the groups, the other one would keep going.
Okay.
We weren't running the big buses, but for anybody listening, remember we were transporting people for treatments like dialysis, things that you need to stay alive. So it was very important that even if we're only doing a few rides, and a few, by the way, is 14,000 over the period. If you're only doing 14,000 rides, those rides really count. Yeah.
Wow. That is so awesome to hear that you were able to do that. You're so smart, Glenn. That's why you're the executive director, I tell you.
I think somehow they made me executive director, but we'll see. So far, it's going well.
Right. I concur. All right. So the big thing, once again, Star Services, the bus routes returned today. They've been very busy, very, of course, well received. Folks are just so happy that they're back. And once again, if you have any questions about the services, you can definitely go to the website, which is Saginaw-stars.com. The number is 907-4000. You can go to their Facebook page and learn all about it. And of course, we're all having to change and pivot and turn, but you guys are back up and running. And, and all of the stuff that you're talking about, the cleaning technology and all of the buses, the bigger buses that you guys are hopefully we'll have coming in soon. I think those are some of the positives because even though we've been going through this pandemic and it's been a tough one, there are a lot of positives that we can look at that will come out of this. I think, with all of this cleaning, with these new buses and all this, all that stuff wouldn't have happened had we not gone through this. So just something positive to look at while we're still going through this horrendous pandemic. So you guys are just,
we kind of lucked out if you think about. Yeah, and this is not to underrate or try to lessen the impact that it's had. Because there's almost 200,000 people nationwide that have died from this. Yeah. But imagine if this was a virus that killed, instead of 6% of Michigan residents that it infected, 50 to 70%.
Right.
This at least serves as to try to see the silver lining here as an opportunity to put in all this. And then one day, if a virus like that was moving through, we've already got these systems in place.
Yeah.
I say that every single system we're doing now has to be in place always, like wearing masks and things like that. But there certainly, why not have regular UV treatment surface cleaning schedules for buses that we didn't do before? Or have air filtration systems in the buses that take out 99% of bacteria and germs. Yes. Before we would have said that's $250,000. Why would we do that? Now we say, well, we can see why.
Yes, very necessary and money well spent for sure. So one question from our same, question from M. Price. Do you still have those 2 trolleys? So no, I'm not sure you know about the trolleys that they were talking about.
I know about the trolleys. Unfortunately, no. One of the first things, and they can curse me for this, one of the first things I did when I came to Stars was I traded the trolley to MTA Flint for a couple buses because we were running really short on big buses back then. And if you're a rider from 2016 or before, you know what I'm talking about. They were getting pretty rough. So we knew we had to do something else. And it was kind of like, well, the trolley's really cool. I'd love to run it downtown. But we aren't even servicing the city in general and what it needs. So we had to get rid of the trolley.
Oh, he said, oh no. So yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's an awful story.
Hey, had to do what you had to do. So
we'll get another one day. I'm convinced of that.
All right. Oh, he says his grandma used to drive those. Yeah, my grandma used to drive those. So, very interesting. Okay, well, there you go. All right. So, man, this has been so enlightening. Thank you so much for taking a few moments out to talk to us about STARS and the bus routes coming back today. So excited. Once again, you see it scrolling there. You can visit Saginaw-stars.com for more information, 907-4000 for more info on their services. Thank you so much for taking time to explain to us what you all are doing as far as cleaning, as far as the routes and all of that kind of stuff. And man, we're just going to keep taking this thing one day at a time. Hopefully we won't have to go back into phase 3. But once again, as you have already stated, if folks would just be obedient, if we just do what we're supposed to do, then I too think that we're going to come out of this a lot sooner than later, and definitely stronger and for the better. So thank you, Glenn. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. It's good to get these words out.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, okay. One last question here. Let's see. There's going to be a second. So I hear there's going to be a STARS bus mural. Is that?
Oh yeah. That's a cool project we have going. Okay. A couple of years ago, I had this crazy idea pop in my head. I wanted a graffiti bus. Okay. But like legit graffiti. For anybody who can understand what that would be. Right. We started kind of looking at that as an idea, maybe having somebody paint it out so the public could see it happen, and something that screams Saginaw. Okay. And then I met somebody regarding the poet Theodore Rethke. Okay. And they wanted to do some type of project in town. And I said, well, that's very Saginaw, it sounds like. So let's cross paths here. And so, teamed up, and we've now got an artist selected. The bus was just being prepped yesterday or the day before. And so the art is going to start soon, and it's going to be a rolling bus mural with beautiful Saginaw scenery and art on it. I haven't seen the final product yet. I don't want to spoil anything either and write out the artist on what his vision might be to the public yet. I'd like him to be able to do it, but keep an eye open for the Saginaw bus mural.
I'm going to be looking for it. So that is very exciting. So
it's pretty cool.
Will it just be the one bus that you'll have with the mural on it, or?
Yep. Yeah, just one bus. It'll have it'll be hand painted. We'll spray in hand, and then we're going to clear coat that sucker and hopefully run it for a number of years down the streets. Okay, and we don't have a date on when we might see that rolling through Saginaw. Man, anymore, I try not to put dates on things. I know. They're like, oh, the paint's not coming in because there's a shortage for paint this week or something crazy. Yeah, which folks are experiencing a lot of that too, back order on a lot of stuff. So, okay, well. That's why we ran shower curtains in the buses until we could actually get our hands on vinyl, even something that simple. Yeah, man. And because, let me see, I'm thinking of doing the freehand payment. Oh, yes, we answered that question, Emily. Thank you for that question. Are you guys thinking of doing the freehand payment? And you did discuss that earlier about implementing that possibly. You don't know when or if, but that is something that definitely has been thought about. So Emily, when we're done with this, if you want to go back, because this is going to be on our Facebook page, KISS 107.1 Facebook page, and our KISS 107.1 YouTube channel, you can go back and watch the entire interview and see all that he had to say about that. But thank you for that question. We appreciate it. So, all right. Well, our time is about up. Glenn, I tell you, I could talk to you forever, but as we're wrapping this up with the STARS of bus routes, once again, they're returning today, and we're just so excited. Thank you for all that you're doing in just your creativity and keeping riders safe and keeping your bus drivers safe, and kudos. So thank you so much. Okay. Thanks for helping us get the word out on this. It's really important that the passengers work with us because we really don't want to see things go back at all. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Okay. Thank you. All right. Have a great day. You too.